Okay, so that's a really interesting question, and the honest answer is it depends on the individual and their personal circumstance. From my perspective, as someone who's transitioned from female to male, I can share what I've experienced and what I've observed in others. So you have your physical transition. So for trans men that's female to male, starting testosterone generally brings noticeable changes fairly quickly. So your voice deepens, facial hair begins to grow, and your body shape changes, like increased muscle mass and fat redistribution. Chest surgery is also a common step for trans men and can have a huge impact on relieving dysphoria. However, lower surgery, phalloplasty or metoidioplasty, is much more complex, expensive, and less commonly pursued due to the difficulty of the procedures. That said, there are some physical traits that hormones and surgery cannot change, and this applies to both trans men and trans women. For example, body size, shoe size, and hand size remain largely unchanged. This means that some trans men will always appear smaller framed with smaller hands and feet, which may make them feel more self-conscious. For trans women, hormone replacement therapy with estrogen often brings softer physical changes. Skin becomes smoother, body fat redistribution, and breast development begins. But these changes can take longer to appear and might not be as dramatic. Facial feminization surgery is something many trans women choose to alleviate dysphoria, but can be costly and isn't always covered by healthcare systems. You have genital surgery. Vaginoplasty is more common for trans women than phalloplasty for trans men, but it's still a major procedure with its own challenges. However, one of the biggest physical struggles for trans women is facial and body hair growth, especially for those with naturally dark hair. Even after laser hair removal, maintaining a smooth appearance can be a long and frustrating progress. There's also the issue of having children. A trans woman may long for children, but is unable to conceive and carry a child naturally, which can be a deeply emotional challenge. Societal pressure to have children, especially for women, can make this aspect of transition particularly painful. For trans men, from my experience, one of the advantages of transitioning as a trans man is that society tends to accept masculinity more easily. Once my voice dropped and facial hair came in, people rarely questioned my gender. That being said, the challenges often come before those changes are noticeable, where you might still be perceived as female. For trans women, from my perspective, I think it could be harder in a lot of ways to transition from male to female because it's much more visible and people tend to judge what they don't understand. Trans women often face more scrutiny and society can be less forgiving of femininity. Even after significant physical changes, some trans women find themselves being misgendered or facing prejudice. Because of the limitations of hormone therapy, some trans women remain visibly taller with broader hands and feet, which can make them stand out more. Society tends to enforce strict expectations of what a woman should look like, which can make it even harder for trans women to feel accepted. So for both trans men and trans women, accessing care can be difficult, especially depending on where you live. Hormones, surgeries, and mental health care often come with long waiting lists or high costs. In the UK, for example, the NHS waiting list for gender affirming care is incredibly long, and many people turn to private care, which can be very expensive. So there are emotional and mental challenges. Both transitions come with emotional challenges, and neither is inherently easier. Gender dysphoria, societal expectations, and navigating relationships are hurdles faced by all transgender individuals. However, for trans women, the visibility of their transition and the prejudice they face can make the journey even more emotionally taxing. For trans women, the inability to carry a child can also be a significant emotional struggle. Many people, especially women, are expected by society to become parents, and for those who deeply desire biological children, this can be a painful reality to accept. So from my perspective, transitioning as a trans man certainly has its challenges. However, I do believe that transitioning from male to female can be harder in a lot of ways because of how visible it is and how much judgment society places on femininity. People tend to judge what they don't understand, and trans women often have to face that head on in a way that trans men might not. Each journey comes with its own obstacles, and what's harder often depends on the individual's personal goals, support system, and access to resources. Some things like body size, shoe size, and hand size cannot be changed, which can make transitioning feel more difficult for some individuals. What's most important is having the support and care you need to navigate your transition, no matter which path you're on. So I hope that answers that question. Again, thanks for watching. Take care, stay safe.